Anytime Lauren Boebert talks, you know it's going to be some stupid stuff come out. But she got straight jacked by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. They had a guest who was talking about the ATF and issue with guns, and Boebert, being just the dumb person that she is, she showed us just really she is not the brightest bulb in the dark room. Play.
Would you say that this is an abuse of that separation of power? Because that rule is not something that Congress has delegated, but the ATF has taken it upon itself to regulate this rule that they created to make millions of Americans felons.
With respect, I was trying to answer your question before you interrupted me to say that the ATF had, in each of these instances, sufficient statutory authority from Congress, and that any challenges to that.
Ms. Katzen, it is my time. So Congress never authorized the ATF to ban pistol braces. Congress never authorized the ATF to do that, to make millions of Americans felons overnight. And so I would go back to your statement that you said in your testimony that these agencies are not free agencies, and they can only do which Congress has delegated to them to do.
Congress is not
Ms. Katzen,
specific. Excuse me.
Thank you. My time. No, ma'am, it's my time. Thank you.
Oh, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Katzen,
so you are not
in
interested in my views.
It is my time. Thank you.
I'm sorry you're not interested in my
you
views.
stated Congress delegates, but then some officials are quick to condemn the agencies for.
Well, that was rude. That didn't sit too well with Jasmine Crockett. Here's the Texas Congresswoman.
This committee runs my pressure up, and I do come prepared to committee, and then there's always somebody from this side that does something ridiculous that throws me all the way off. So, oh Jesus. Okay, so this is where we're gonna start, Ms. Katzen. First of all, let me apologize, because that was uncalled for. So let me do what she would never do, which is to be an adult in this room or in this chamber. So let me start there. I'm also going to start with some nonsense that she was trying to spew. And unlike Ms. Boebert, I am legally trained, and I've passed a few bar exams. And I also legislated before I got here. So I do want to start with correcting the record a little bit. And if you want to add to that, please do. There was conversation about ATF, because my colleagues love to talk about their guns, baby. And I'm from Texas, so let me be clear. I also own firearms. Let me scream. Democrats own guns too. Let me make it clear. I own guns, and I'm licensed to carry. That is a regulation. Regulations aren't necessarily bad. It didn't stop me from being able to get a gun. So we were talking about, or y'all were talking about, the ATF, which I wasn't going there. I didn't plan to go there. But you know what? I honestly wish the ATF would run amok, because we know that seemingly the people that run this chamber don't have the courage to come up with one of the things we've heard is common sense regulations when it comes to guns. And to be clear, our Constitution, the Second Amendment, anticipates people having common sense. Unfortunately, we have not done that, and unfortunately, it has cost us lives. So when you were testifying a little bit earlier, you talked about unintended consequences and the fact that we are supposed to be able to anticipate that as lawmakers when we are writing laws. Unfortunately, not only have we ignored the unintended consequences, but we've got foreseeable consequences that are continually ignored. And that is why we are talking about regulation, at least on this side of the aisle. And our definition of common sense is one that doesn't keep us in the pockets of corporations, but keeps us in the pockets of the people. Because what I'm trying to do is save lives. My job isn't here to make sure that I'm pushing the bottom line for some corporation, but it's to make sure that the people that put me into this seat, which were actual people, individuals, to make sure that I can save lives. So let's talk about my state, because we always got good stuff coming out of Texas. Unfortunately, my state decided that it didn't want to be a part of the overall national grid, because my state did not want to deal with all of the quote unquote red tape. The cost of that was lives. So we had this winter storm, and here it was, I was freshly being sworn into the Texas House, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I started getting calls because there is this thing called climate change. Hello, nobody's in the chamber on the other side. But climate change is this real thing. And so in Texas, we had this terrible storm that took place. And even though we are an energy capital, not just in this country, but in the world, for clean and dirty energy, unfortunately, we couldn't keep our own lights on. And it was all because they wanted to avoid red tape. You know what the cost of that was? It was human lives. And I think that that's what's being lost. You know what happened in Palestine or East Palestine? The cost was human lives. Unfortunately, seemingly, some people don't want to consider human lives as an actual cost. The only cost that they ever talk about is dollars. Well, let me be clear. I'm not here because of corporate dollars. I'm here because of people. And so I am curious to know, and I'm going to give you, and I usually run out of time. I'm going to be clear. I always run out of time because they always give me too much to do. But because of the way that you were treated, I am going to allow you the courtesy of expounding upon what it was that you were talking about with these agencies, which is pretty much what I understood, which is they only did what they were delegated to do, because if ATF could do more, I'm sure that we would actually get rid of the assault rifles that are constantly killing our babies every single day in this country. But go ahead, Ms. Kaskin, with the last 20 seconds.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and I thank you for them.
That's how you gather somebody, Reese.
Oh, yeah. Jasmine, or I should say, Congresswoman Crockett is here taking no prisoners. And I love her delivery. I love her style. But the fact of the matter is she has the receipts to back it up. And I love that she isn't always letting the Republicans set the terms of the conversation. That's what they like to do. They like to manufacture crises, is one thing she said on Twitter. And the Democrats need to do a better job, and I think she's a shining example of reminding people of where the real threats are. The real threats are from Republican government incompetence, as well as obstruction, and as well as indifference to the people and constituents that they serve, as opposed to their fealty to these gun nuts, the lobbyists from the gun nuts, and to their corporate donors. So salute to Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Crockett. She's a breath of fresh air in this new Congress.
I tell you, it is always shameful, Michael, when you ask folk questions and then you don't want to let them give the answer. Now, if they start lying, I mean, you can correct them, but geez, but it shows you just how dumb Boebert is.
Absolutely, and the people that voted for Boebert are dumb as well. And I can't stress this enough, Roland. The difference between Jim Jordan being the chair of that committee, the difference between Kevin McCarthy being Speaker of the House or Hakeem Jeffries being Speaker of the House, it was about 7,000 votes in a handful of House districts. OK, and so I hear people saying, oh, we're not going to vote unless we get reparations. Most of those people can't tell you how many votes it takes to get a bill passed in the House of Representatives or how many votes it takes to get a bill passed in the U.S. Senate. OK, so we have to vote these crazy people out of office, because if you go to congress.gov and you go look at these bills that we say we want, we go look and see how these people vote. Overwhelmingly, Republicans keep voting against our own interests. So why would we let them take back control of the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate or the White House? OK, so we have to understand how to play for keeps and how to play this game to win.
Indeed. All right. First of all, I got to get your thoughts on this, Greg, because here's the thing that I think people need to understand. Again, we talk about why voting matters and why these things are critically important. Boebert barely won in the last election. OK, the person who she beat is running against her again. Every House seat is up for re-election in 2024. These folks can be thrown out of office. They don't have to be in power. But if folks just sort of sit at home and chill and go, I don't like what I'm seeing, we're going to have these crazies in charge again and again.
Absolutely. And to echo what Mike just said, these are very thin margins. When we talked to David Pepper from Ohio in his book Laboratories of Autocracy, we interviewed him at the Black Table a couple of months ago, he talked about the fact that they have gerrymandered these districts so narrowly and so in such a contorted form that, the only way to overcome them in the short term is to turn out the vote. And Boebert won by a handful of votes. And Aurora, which is the third largest city in Colorado, and I think like the 51st largest city in the country, how many people didn't vote? And it's very important for us to understand that John Roberts, people are saying, oh, he did the right thing. Yeah. With that rocket docket, that shadow docket, what they did was play red light, green light, and froze those districts in place. And as you said earlier, had those districts been drawn correctly, the Republicans would not have the majority in the House of Representatives today. SCOTUS knew what it was doing because they held in place Louisiana and all those other places. And so I guess what I'm saying is it comes down to this. Jasmine Crockett is fighting. She's doing what she can along with the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus and other folk. But, you can only hold the line for so long in a society where people have decided they're just going to check out. And, shout out to Congresswoman Crockett, who Wednesday night became the first black woman Democrat to play in the congressional softball game. I guess she plays to win on the field and off the field. Doesn't matter what it is. So the Texas 30th is being represented. Congratulations. The Colorado 3rd, not so much.